Hey goalies, welcome back to the DIY Goalie podcast. And today we're super excited to have the goalie mindset guy himself, Pete Fry, who's taken the time to come on with us and share his insights. How are we doing today, Pete?
Great, Nathan, Connor. I'm honored for you guys having me on here. I am excited, and I've been following you guys, and I'm excited to be on here. And let's have a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll try and not get too far off the rails for, a 2 or 3 hour conversation here. And yeah, we're also bringing Connor on for kind of a co-host situation for this go around. So like we talked about last episode, Connor is going to give us a bit of a hand for the next little bit here. Um, so just starting off, Pete, kind of wanted to go way back to the start and get a bit of your goalie origin story.
Sure.
I know everyone kind of has a different story as to why they got started playing goal and what kind of led to the passion for the game. So what's your story behind that?
Well, for me, I was born in Toronto, and we grew up there in a place called Kleinburg, and I would always watch Hockey Night in Canada with my mom and dad. And it was Montreal and Toronto. They were the big teams. I remember going to the Toronto Maple Leafs game and watching them and stuff like that. But one guy stood out to me, and it was Ken Dryden from the Montreal Canadiens. And so I enjoyed watching him. And I guess there was a story when I was like 6 years old. Montreal just won the cup, and we're taking our summer vacation. We're staying in a motel, but so were the Montreal Canadiens. It was different back then. They
Yeah.
were staying in the same motel as us in Florida, right on the beach.
Nice.
And so we're in the pool, and
Yeah.
I guess I went up to Honor Richard, the captain of the team, and all I said was, "Where's Ken Dryden?" That's it, like a 5-year-old. That's all I said. So I just seemed to like goaltenders, and then I wasn't the best skater when I tried to skate, and that had a lot to do with it as
Guilty.
well too. You guys might have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
familiar story,
Yeah.
and I just loved the thrill of lying on the ice and stopping every puck because no one could fire it over me. So it
Yeah.
was awesome. When I was like
Some
6, 7
some
years
to,
old.
some something to be said there about a little bit of craziness with you don't want to stand in net and just for somebody to have a fire 100 km/h shot at you. So
Yeah,
I don't think
well, Pete, thanks again for taking the time to come out and join us. We really do appreciate it. Feeling Mutual, been following you for the last little bit, so really excited to have you on. Were there any kind of influences along the way? I know that you mentioned Ken Dryden. You went,
yep,
in a motel
yeah.
there. So just was
Well,
was was there any kind of influence from him on that?
Well, it was different back then. Like it was different back then because it wasn't where everyone on the team had a chance to play goal like they do now a lot of times, right? Like if you want to play goal, they're like, you're in there. And I did have good success. Like my first year, I remember getting that trophy for the goalie of the year, whatever, I was 6 years old, 7 years old. But I still have the trophy. The goals against average on it was 0.85. 0.85 was my GA my first year. And I've never reached that pinnacle again in my goalie career. It was one shot. I was 6 or 7 years old, and but there was something special about that, to get that trophy. And I think there's something that plays in our minds when we have success. We're always, and I use this with goalies. You'll see, I talk about confidence anchoring. We're always anchoring things in, good or bad, right? So you may see a goalie that may not have that much success the first season. They may be like, this isn't for me. I don't want to play, or it's not much fun and stuff like that, right? And so that's really what led it. And then I played again the next year and was goalie again. It was a lot of fun. Didn't have as much success, but really enjoyed it. And then we moved to we moved to Vancouver. And remember being fully disappointed when we moved to Victoria. We moved to Victoria, and we're on the island there. And in Toronto, everyone played hockey, like everyone. But you go to Victoria, and it's like 1 out of 10 or something like that, right? So I remember feeling sorry for kids
Yeah.
in my class that didn't play hockey. I thought, oh man, I honestly, I felt bad for them. It was weird. It was weird, but I just thought it was the coolest thing.
yeah. Yeah, I know it's I've heard lots of stories. The goalies, as soon as they get that first taste, that first little, experience as a goalie, they're hooked. It's kind of like that, that bug you just can't shake.
No,
So after you stopped your playing career and then you kind of were trying to figure out what to do afterwards, what kind of inspired you to kind of dabble more in the sports psychology side of things and to start dealing with the mindset approach and more of the mental game for goalies and then athletes in general too?
That's a great question. I think it was. Excuse me, I just got a little tickle in my throat here. Let me get excited for the podcast for the viewers there. Like the wrong time to have that. Anyway, so I think it was like
Okay.
when I was playing, like throughout the years that I was playing, I think I had so many ups and downs, like
Yeah.
ups and downs. Like I swear like when I was 10 years old, I made I'm going to go back again because this kind of explains why I do what I do now. When I was 10 years old, I made the Pee Wee rep team, and Pee Wee was 11 and 12, right? So you're not supposed to play at that age and stuff like that. But I had good success playing against these older players, and and then as a bantam, as like 13 and 14, scouts were starting to come knocking and stuff like that, right? And there was high expectations. At 14, I was like, I'm going to be the most. I had this feeling that I was going to be the most dominant goalie in the world. Like I just had that feeling, right? And then, believe it or not, I go see this movie at 14 years old. It was called The Great Late Planet Earth. I don't know if anyone's ever seen. If you guys ever seen that, probably haven't. But it was all about how the world was going to end in like 5 years and stuff like that. And so I come out of that movie. I'm
Okay.
like, why am I doing what I'm doing? It doesn't matter. Anyways, so I went from just like zero doubt to just doubting everything about existence after that. It was really, really strange. Not
Yeah.
not a good movie for a 14-year-old to watch, right? And I don't even know
Yeah.
if it's around anymore. So my game, I struggled a little bit after that, and then but still, when I turned 15, I had there was no Western Hockey League draft. So when I turned 15, I had four teams kind of knocking on my door: Kamloops, Seattle, Portland, and Victoria. And I lived in Victoria. And Dave Andrews was a coach of Victoria, and he later became the president of the American Hockey League. And but I got heavily recruited by Portland, so I went to play there as a. They brought me up when I was 15, and there was interesting challenges right away back then, right? Just with like that organization back then was not it was a solid organization, but there was a lot of kind of things went on behind the scenes with like the general manager and stuff. So you had to be aware. And I got warned by the players when I first got there, and that can play a factor in your head as well too, right? When you're working on stuff. So at 15, I sat on the bench a few games, and I remember the first game I got called up for. We're playing in I think it was Medicine Hat, and they said, "Don't worry, you're not going to play. You're going to sit on the bench." And so I thought, okay, great. I'm going to sit on the bench. And I remember in warm up going, these shots are hard. Cam Neely was the president of Boston. He was one of the players on the team, right? They had lots of John Cordica. Like I don't know, you guys may not even heard of these names, but they were legends back then. Anyways, I remember in warm up going, wow, these players shoot hard. And then about a minute into the game, the other goalie on our team, Bruno Kempesi, who's now a scout with Vegas Golden Knights, Bruno gets run over. He goes down. He's lying flat on the ground. He's not moving. Right. The coach Ken Hodge, there's like his Coke bottle glasses. He looks at me. He's like, "Peter, get ready. You're gonna go in." And I'm like, my eyes are like so big, and I froze. I couldn't move. I couldn't fricking move, and I basically forced myself to put my glove and my blocker on, and all the thoughts going through my head were just what the fans were saying. You're a sieve. You can't stop a beach ball and stuff. Those images were in my head. I was going in, and I would have played with like total doubt. But what happened? I'm just about to go over the boards. Fortunately, Bruno gets up, the other goalie. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. I wanted to grab the mic from the PA guy and say, if anyone in this building has goaltending experience, come on down to ice level. That's how scared I was. Well, that's one of the reasons I do what I do today, because I should have been excited to go on the ice, right? To get that opportunity. And so I didn't play any more games as a 15-year-old. And then as a 16-year-old, I go to training camp in Portland. And in the summer, we went down to teach hockey school in Portland. And the 17-year-old goaltender, who's going to be 17 that year, Eddie Jones, he's driving me to Portland to teach hockey school together. And I remember him talking to me and saying, Ian Wood's coming back this year. Ian was drafted by the Edmonton Oilers, right? Ian Wood was drafted by the Edmonton Oilers. He's a good goaltender. And he ended up playing in Germany. Had a great career in Germany. He had a good deal over there. And but anyway, so Eddie's driving me. We're driving to the hockey school, and he's saying to me, so this year, Ian's going to be the number one goalie. I'm going to be the backup. You'll be like number 3. You'll play junior A, wherever. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I was just listening to him. And then next year you'll be my backup the year after and stuff. So he's laying out like how it's going to work, right? I'm thinking, okay, whatever. I didn't know. And so training camp comes in September. So I go to training camp, and the plans were for me to play in Summerland, which was in the BC Hockey League that year. And a lot of good players ended up playing there. And so those were the plans. So I go to training camp in Portland, and they call me in. At the end, they say, we're keeping you. We're cutting Eddie Jones, right? And I'm like, oh, that poor guy. His plans were splattered right there. And but I thought, okay, great. And they said, you're not going to play that much. You're not going to play that much. It's because I was 16, right out of first year midget. And so the first game, the other goalie plays, he struggles. They put me in the next game. I get first star. They put me in the next game. Like, I literally got the first 5 games. I think I got first star 3 out of the first 5 games. It was crazy. And then I come back to my stall. There's a beer in my stall. I'm like, I don't know if the coach did it or something did it, or I didn't understand. And then the coach kept me on and had me pushing nets after practice, seeing that I had an attitude, I had an ego, right? And I was just like, wow. And anyways, it was interesting. So I struggled a little bit after that, right? I believe you want to reward the behavior, you want to repeat it with that. So as a 16-year-old, I ended up playing 39 games. I did have a really good season, was ranked in, top goalies to get drafted in the National Hockey League the next year. And then I went back to Victoria to hang out with my buddies. And I remember Donnie Meehan. You know who Donnie Meehan is? He represents Connor Bedard, the top agent in the game, right? And so he flies out to Victoria, right, to see Russ Courtnall and myself. And do you know who Russ Courtnall is? You guys don't. Sorry, I'm
Kind of, yeah. A little bit.
That might be a little out of my depth.
Yeah.
I gotta forget these names. Okay, I'll stick with the story. Forget the names. Anyways, and Donnie's like, Pete, you should go on the ice with Russ and the other NHL pros every week and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, I'm good hanging out with my buddies, right? And so I hang out with my buddies who didn't have any hockey career aspirations, and they weren't into drugs or drinking, but they weren't true athletes, right? And that affected me. I went back to the 17-year-old, and I was terrible that year. Terrible. In fact, I played 31 games. I had more penalty minutes than games played. I think I had 54 penalty minutes. 31 games. That's where my lack of focus was, right? So up and down and up and down and up and down. And what happens in Portland, when you get the GM's bad books, they trade you to Brandon, right? Now, I know you've heard of Ray Ferrero. He played in Portland, got traded to Brandon.
Yeah.
Right? He was one of the guys. And so I get traded to Brandon at the end of the season, and I was not having fun in hockey. It was a terrible year. I had to deal with like the Portland GM stuff back then and things like that. And so I was like, I go to training camp in Brandon, and then I called my dad. I'm like, I don't want to play anymore. So I actually quit. I came home and quit. And I remember he came out. He drove me home, like 24-hour drive home. And then after that, I waited. I said, okay, well, I'm going to wait till I get traded to a Western Hockey League team, right? And you know what the fact of the matter was? I had a girlfriend in Victoria. And that's where my focus was, right? And so we have to be proactive. We got to be aware of that. Right? Because all of a sudden we can change our whole story based on something like that. Oh, is it really that I'm not loving hockey? Or is it that I am so enthralled with this new relationship? I've never had anything like this before, right? It's a kid growing up. And so anyways, that threw me off track a little bit. So I didn't play that year. For the first half of the year, I played junior A, had a terrible attitude. In fact, I was playing for the Sydney Capitals. They're now Cowichan Valley Capitals. And the coach is like, we're going on a road trip. I'm like, okay. And he's like, I'm starting the other goalie. Well, I had a pretty big ego. And I'm like, what do you mean you're starting the other goalie? I'm starting the other goalie. I was like, that's BS. I got a test coming up, and I come on this road trip, and I commit myself, and you're playing the other goalie. So I take my science book. And by the way, I hated school. I take my science book on the bench to study, right? And first period, second period, Dino, the other goalie, he's a great guy. Dean Cook, playing us in the Western Hockey League. And he's like, Cookie struggling, didn't come up with 3 or 4 saves. And the coach, Rob was like, Pete, get in. I go, just, can you wait till I finish this chapter? And then I'll go in. And so he did. He waited until I finished the chapter, and then I went in. Which you can't do stuff like that now. But that's how off
Jeez.
track my mind was. And like I said,
Yeah.
I was messed up when I played. That's why I do what I do now. And from there, but when I did go to training camp in Brandon, I did learn some stuff because I was on the ice with Ron Hextall before he went to Philly. Right, he was getting ready to go to Philly. Right, so that was cool. So he some puck handling stuff and neat stuff like that. So 18-year-old, I played, and then that summer, I broke up with my girlfriend. I can remember I was like bawling, I was in tears and stuff like that. Best thing I did. Best thing I did. I put all the energy into hockey, right? I did. In fact, I committed so much that I can send you guys a picture. I got a mohawk, right? I got a mohawk, like me did to myself, right? And the other goalie. Basically, everyone on the team chipped in $20 for us to get a mohawk. And but I think I collected all the money from that. So I got the mohawk. I was committed, and I thought this is going to be my year, right? This is going to be my year. We're like 5 games. And the coach says we're going to split you the first few games. Whoever plays the best, we're gonna run with you. Well, we're 10 games, 12 games into the season, and the other goalie's 6-0. I'm 0-6. 0-6. Now, keep in mind, the coach, he was playing me against more difficult teams, but he calls me in his office and he goes, I want you to understand that for us to win, you have to win for us, right? You have to do it. It's got to be you. You got to steal games, right? And that's what he said. It was a great thing to say, right? He didn't say he didn't say I was playing poorly. He didn't say I let in some bad goals, stuff like that. He was like, he was really, really good there. And so the next game I went out and I stood on my head and I just went on a run and I played like 50 games that year, 54 games. And I got drafted by New Jersey, right? Get the call from Marshall Johnson. Peter, welcome to the National Hockey League. Welcome to the New Jersey Devils. Look forward to seeing you at training camp. And I hang up the phone and I'm back to, I don't have a chance again, right? Because I didn't have a clear picture of my future, right? Did not have a clear picture. So I went to training camp and I was awful in training camp, awful. The only game I played well, they sent me down to Utica in the American Hockey League. We're playing against Rochester and we're playing in Utica. And I broke my skates in pregame warmup in the morning, like in the morning skate. So they got me new skates. I'm like, well, I can't play now. Right. So see, the true dominated winning goalies, they'll play under any circumstances, right? Like we got to believe, I tell some of my clients, we got to believe that our 50% is better than someone else's 100%. We want that net, right? I was looking for excuses. So they're like, okay, you're not going to play. And then an hour before the game, they come in, they say, Pete, you're playing. What do you mean? You said I wasn't going to play. You're going to play for Rochester. I'm like, what? Yeah, their trainer forgot to pack their goalie's equipment. So in the American Hockey League. So I played that game for Rochester. I stood on my head. We won 2-1. Then the next night I played for Utica Devils in Rochester and I got pulled like halfway through the game. Right. So anyways, that just goes to show that all my visions, all my in my head and stuff like that were not of being successful there. And so when I get back to Victoria, I remember calling Marshall Johnson saying, I think I should be signed to a contract, right? You should sign me or release me. And he's like, I'll get back to you. And he still has never called to this day. He hasn't called back.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be waiting. I'll be like Jim Carrey in the I'm in the shower, right?
Yeah.
Better check messages.
Yeah. Waiting by the phone.
So I suppose from that story, it's safe to say that a lot of your playing experience helped you in developing your mindset in terms of what you teach your students today.
Huge. Yes. Because I did have a passion. I was driven. Like I had a lot of hunger. Yet there was a lot of things on the mental side that I didn't know and I didn't understand. That, man, they make it so much easier when we apply them, right? And so basically after that, Cole's notes, go to University of Calgary, right? Because in the second year, I decide I'm gonna play like a second year. I'm gonna get an NHL tryout. I'm gonna dominate, right? And we become the best team in the country. Willie Deschardins was our coach. Best team in the country. We go to the Frozen Four in Toronto. We're on TSN the next day, and we practice at Varsity Arena in Toronto for like 30, 45 minutes. I had a dominating season, and Willie said he was just about to blow the whistle in the practice. Someone hits a rut on the ice, runs into me, blows my knee, like blew my knee, like right there, right there. And then to top it off, the TSN guy the next day, my parents were watching, right? And I don't pay attention to announcers in hockey games. I usually watch the games with the volume off and to stay in that athlete mindset. But I guess when the announcer said, "Hey, I don't understand why Pete Fry's not playing. He's played like almost every game all year. He must have gotten some trouble when he got here or something like that." He said something like that. Anyways, so I was a mess mentally
Well,
after
you are
that.
in Calgary.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. I was a mess after that. We lost. We lost that very first game and we got booted out of the series, so to speak. We didn't win the championships. I had let my schooling go where I couldn't get back into school because I let my grades drop so much. I burned the ships, right? I burned the ships, but anyways. So that's what happened there. And then, so I went down to the East Coast League to play in the East Coast League. And I went there with like half a knee because I still hadn't rehabilitated my knee. But a friend who was playing in Knoxville, so I did that. But my focus there was more on having fun and chasing girls and stuff like that, as opposed to stopping pucks. And it was an interesting experience. But the focus in the right, I was my mentality was this is terrible hockey. What am I doing here? This league is bush. What am I doing here? Right? I was buying into what some of the negative players were saying. Meanwhile, 5 players on our team that year end up playing in the National Hockey League. Right? I think 2 of them won a Stanley Cup. So it's our mindset is everything. So from there, they actually send me home at Christmas time because I wouldn't take the medication for my knee because they said you cannot drink if you have it. So I wouldn't take it, right? So, which was bad mentality, bad attitude. So they sent me home, and I'll go back home next. I get a deal to play in Sweden the next year. So I play in Div 1 in Sweden, and in Sweden you have the elite league, like where that's the top league. And then you got Allsvenskan, which is in between where teams go up and down. Then you got Div 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right? So I was in Div 1 and had a great year there. Was supposed to re-sign. And the agent said I had to offer a couple other teams. And then my team, something happened to their finances. They pulled out. They couldn't re-sign me. And I was just like, I'm done. I didn't even think of sticking it out. I was like, I'm done. I turned into a manic depressant. Like seriously, if you'd seen me back then, you go, well, who is this? You wouldn't recognize who I was. Manic depressant. And here's the magical point. A neighbor gives me a personal development program. I study it. I listen to it. It's an audio program. I was like, this was really good. And I was learning stuff about the mind. And so I started researching and diving into the power of the mind. And within like a month, I turned from a manic depressant to all my friends were not my friends anymore because they thought I was nuts. Right? When you raise yourself to a higher level, sometimes people, they don't want to lose you or something like that. Anyways, so it was interesting. And I just started diving into the power of the mind, learned everything. Well, not everything. There's still so much more to learn, but that's been my mission since then. Is the whole, and that's really where it started.
Yeah, for sure. Lots to unpack there. So we'll maybe start to to dive
We're only
into
on
the
question
nitty
1.
gritty of the mindset things. Yeah, I know, right? So, but yeah, no, we'll start getting into some of that mindset stuff
Let's do
then.
it.
So I know, especially some of the younger goalies, they probably haven't even really started thinking about the mental part of the game, and even a lot of the older goalies, if nobody's really talked to them about it or whatever, it's something that a lot of goalies don't really put the effort in to make it part of their game. So for those goalies that haven't really started to implement any sort of mindset training, mental training, anything like that, where do you think's a good place for them to start?
Great question. So if they haven't done any mindset training or any mental training whatsoever, I think first of all, I think it's important to understand why, right? Simon Sinek, the power of why. And so if you think about it, so I would start off with the question, what percentage of your success as a goalie is mental? And you're going to get all kinds of different answers. Some people say, I coin kind of 90% mental.
What there's not a formula for that?
No, there's no exact number. Conor
Yeah.
McGregor says it's 100%. But I'm like, even if it's only 40% of our success, which I think it's a lot higher, or 50%, right? Don't we think that devotes some time, right? And the biggest thing is to change and look at the mental game as a skill. And repetition is the mother of skill. So I'll give you Short story here. I get a call from a goalie parent, and I regularly do, and they're like, can you work with Ethan? Ethan was playing for the Nashville Junior Preds, like U17, U18. They're saying he's having stomach problems. He gets big anxiety before games, and his confidence. He has a hard time bouncing back after not making a save, and so he's going on and on and on and on and on. I'm like, okay, let me talk to Ethan. Let me talk to Ethan. So I talk to Ethan, because every time I hear something like that, I'm like, I can solve it, no problem. I can do it. I can solve it. Right? Like it's a challenge.
Mhm.
And so I talked to Ethan. I'm like, Ethan, what percent of your success is mental? He's like, probably 89%. What do you do right now to work on the mental part of your game? And he's like, I do a little pregame visualization, and that's it. I go, what else do you do? He's like, nothing. I go, okay, and you're having challenges with, and I don't like to say the word anxiety, because every word that is said forms a picture in our head, but you're having challenges, let's say, with confidence, bouncing back after not making saves and stuff like that. I said, okay, well, what about your skating? How important is your skating for you as a goalie? He's like, super important. How often do you work on it? Like every time, every day I work on my skating. I go on the ice, I work on my skating every single day. What would you think of me if I said to you, I just want you to work on your skating a little bit in your warm up for your game? That's it. Don't ever work on it besides that. Just work on it then. You'd think I was crazy. Right? I say, well, that's what's happening with your mental game right now. And that is the sole reason why. Like, I really believe that my stuff is that I do is so good, is really good. Yet they just have to do something. It doesn't have to be mine. They just got to do something. They got to do it consistently, right? They got to do it. So confidence, for example, confidence. I stand in front of the mirror. Bring yourself to a peak state of confidence. You, then bring yourself to a low state of confidence. How you move in the images in your head, right? The thing is, these things that I work them on, they don't teach this stuff in school. Like you guys, Nathan, Connor, you guys didn't get the confidence class in school. You didn't get a confidence class?
No,
No.
missed that one.
Yeah.
The class on the
Decided
power
I
of the
think
subconscious
I think it
mind.
was extra credit.
decided to take workshop instead. So
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, like all this stuff is so. So as far as going back to your question, Nathan, what was your question again? I derailed a little bit. What was your question?
Just kind of like where goalies can get started if they
Oh,
haven't really been doing any sort of mindset or mental training.
if they've never done it before,
I suppose
okay,
if I can build on that. Sorry, Pete. Just kind of
yeah,
build on that just a little bit there. Just in my playing career, I've never
yeah,
done any of that stuff, and I'm probably a little fresher at the box than everybody else here. No offense. It's I know that like one of the biggest things for me in terms of any kind of mental training or anything, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in this. Is just my goal at every game, and not necessarily every practice, but more so just in every game, is just I did not want to let 6 goals in. I know that there was a point in time, and when I was playing, as I generally was hitting about 6 goals in, and particularly more so heading into Beerly. It's like I don't want to let any more than 6 goals in. I'd like to keep it under 6. All that kind of stuff there. So like I'm like for me myself, like I never really had any of that. Like even throughout my playing careers, I get scored on, I get upset, I get slammed a stick against the post, against the boards or whatever, and my mom's yelling from the stands, "It's okay, baby," and all that, trying to keep me in
you're like, shut
from
up, mom, you're embarrassing
Hulk
me.
smashing everywhere. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that was I guess in a way the only sort of mental training for lack of a better term, or mental state as I am, is like just kind of all over the place in that regard. So like I guess like if you were talking to me and like, hey Pete, I'm coming into playing goal for the first time, or I'm coming into playing double A, triple A for the first time, where can I start in terms of eliminating the bad habits from when
Yes.
I played minor hockey, stop getting my mom yelling at me from the stands, and just what can I do to work on my own mental game so I dominate in double A, triple A.
I love it. Okay, so here's what I would say. I would say let me talk to you first about the power of your subconscious mind, and then this will turn into exactly what you can do. An early mentor of mine His name was Lee Poulos. Rest in peace, Lee. He's since passed away. Him and his brother started the old spaghetti factories. Lee was the guy taking the Edmonton Oilers through visualizations in the 1980s when they were winning the Stanley Cups back in the day. Anyways, so he's from Vancouver, and he said to me, he said, Pete, I want you to tell you the difference between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, because in school they teach you about your conscious mind. So, for example, if I say, what's 2 plus 2 plus 6 plus 5 minus 4? What's the answer?
That would be 15, 11.
11. You got it. To come up with that,
math was not my strong suit.
did you use your conscious mind or your subconscious mind? Your conscious. You think about
conscious,
it. Yeah. And your conscious mind can judge. You can say, who's this Pete guy? What the hell is he saying? Right? Like, he's crazy or something like that. You can judge, right? He thinks he's funny, but he's not really funny. So, right. So stuff like that. Whereas if we talk, so Lee said, imagine the biggest football stadium. Let's see where the Edmonton Eskimos play, right? Or where they call the Edmonton.
Edmonton, Edmonton.
Okay, I just got
Commonwealth.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Let's say where
we'll censor
it. All good. It's all good. And so imagine that big football stadium. Then put a tiny little golf ball on top of it. The tiny little golf ball represents the power of your conscious mind. It's still powerful, but nothing compared to your subconscious mind. Right? Your subconscious mind is where the power is. They do not teach you about the subconscious mind. So there's 3 magical traits for your subconscious mind. And the first one is it accepts everything. Everything. So, for example, you can say, I'm hanging around with this person. This person is negative, but I know they're negative, so it's no big deal. But guess what? All of a sudden, we start to feel differently, right? Or the teacher is saying negative stuff, and we're like, I know they're saying negative stuff is no big deal, but all of a sudden we start to feel differently. That's the subconscious mind, because it takes everything in. Everything in. The second thing is, and I'll explain it by telling a quick little story. When I was 6 years old, I had 3 older sisters. And this is when we were still in Toronto. They decided to take me to a drive-in movie, right? So they take me to the movie Jaws. Freaking 6 years old, right? I'm watching these people get ripped in half by sharks. And to this day, I'll go in a swimming pool and I'll think there's a freaking shark underneath me. Like, it's because what happens is subconscious mind, the second magical trait of the subconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between what's real and what you imagine. It does not know the difference. So think of it. Do you guys, what's your favorite scary movie? I'm not a scary movie guy, but Nathan, do you have a favorite scary movie?
I like the first and second Saw movies.
Okay, that's by a hockey player that made those movies. Connor, what about you?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear.
I'm not a. Sure. Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Oh, what would you have a scary movie you like or not?
I'm not a big scary movie person.
I'm with you.
But I do listen. There's a game called Five Nights at video game called Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't play the games, but I'm quite interested in the lore there. So I get like even that kind of terrifies me a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't play it. It's not good it's not healthy. And so basically, Nathan, you can go watch one of the Saw movies, and your conscious mind, right? Your conscious mind knows it's fake. It's not real. No one's really getting killed. It's all actors, right? It's all actors. It's fake. So you go to the movie or you watch it on TV, whatever it is, the lights dim. You're like, this is fake. It's actors. The creepy music comes on. Someone jumps out of somewhere. What happens? You get scared. Why would you get scared if you know it's 100% fake?
Because it's the subconscious mind, just
natural reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's got the power. And once we understand that, it's a superpower for us. It is a superpower, right? We can, like, some people can understand why, they're messed up in some ways today just because of some things that were said to them or whatever situations they went through and things like that. The subconscious mind is so powerful. So that's the key thing, which is a huge advantage, because think of it, for making saves. So for that goaltender, if that goaltender simply starts to visualize making a glove save every day, a blocker save, like the 23% rule on the basketball players, right? One group told they can't touch a basketball for 30 days. They just visualize and they get 23% better at free throws, right? Or the 4-finger piano exercises where they scan the brains of the piano players that actually did the 4-finger exercise and the ones that can only visualize it. And they scan them after a week, and their brains changed exactly the same. The ones that did it and the ones that just visualized. The brain does not know the difference. So that's what I would say is you got to use visualization. You got to use visualization. Use it before your games, in practice. If you're going to do a drill, before you do your drill, run the movie, and you'll improve so fast. You'll have a huge advantage, right? I was on the ice yesterday at one of my seminars, and there were some major junior guys there, and they were not regularly visualizing before they would do a skill. It gives you a huge advantage if you do that. Right? It gives you a huge advantage. So that's the second. Now the third key thing, and this works well for goaltenders, is the subconscious mind does not hear the word "don't" or "not." Are you guys baseball fans at all?
Dabble in it.
Okay,
Not
okay.
yeah,
There,
not a huge.
there was a huge baseball game. I forget when it was or who was playing, but I know the circumstances. It was bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, full count. The pitching team is up by 3 runs. If the pitcher strikes out the batter on this last pitch, they win the game. If the batter hits a grand slam, his team wins. Right? So either or is going to happen on this pitch or something in between. And he's getting ready to throw the ball. The pitcher's getting ready to throw the ball. He's fired up, pretty confident, feeling good. And then the rookie pitching coach is like, whoa, 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 whoa! I gotta give some advice to my freaking student here, right? So the rookie pitching coach comes on the field, steps on the mound. He whispers in the pitcher's ear. He's like, hey, this batter, right? He kind of, so no one can read his lips. He's like, this batter loves to hit the ball high and outside. Whatever you do, don't throw the ball high and outside. Guess where he threw the ball? High and outside, and it went out of the
High and
park.
outside.
Yeah, ever had a coach say, Connor? Yeah. Connor, you ever had a coach say, don't give up the first one? Nathan, don't let in the first goal. Right?
Yeah, I think that's happened.
Probably came up in conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so always talk in terms of what you want. And eliminate saying I got scored on. Eliminate saying I let it in. Just say I made the save or I didn't come up with the save. Keep it super simple. Super simple. And fill your head up with saves.
Yeah.
We walk in the picture, we hold ourselves. Fill your head up with saves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I know when I was playing I used to have the the almost falling asleep dreams where you make a blocker save, but then your arm just shoots out
Yeah.
and wakes yourself up. And,
Poor Jessica,
so,
man.
that was before she was around. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, lots of good stuff there. I just wanted to kind of get your take on this, but I know when it comes to implementing stuff on the ice, like, changing some technique or anything like that, a lot of times goalies can struggle with that transition period and that experimentation period, kind of seeing a dip in results before the more long-term kind of success comes. And so I wanted to see if that's kind of similar to what we see on the mindset side of things, if there's kind of a little bit of a regression during that transition period, and if so, kind of what's the best way to navigate that.
Actually, here I'll show you some. I'm going to go back to some text here, and it's different. I find it's different on the mindset than that, but I do know what you're saying there, and I want to talk about what you're saying there. Just
Yeah.
so
Yep.
so here's an example. Carter George. I started working with Carter George about 6 months ago, and maybe longer now. Right? He just got drafted by the LA Kings, and one of the after our first session, he basically said, thanks. I feel great. I have so much confidence going into my games this week. Right. So in this, there's an immediate boost because the techniques that I use, there's an immediate boost in their confidence. And if you think of the mental game, what percentage of your success is the mental game? A big part. But what percentage of the mental game is confidence? That's a huge part. Right. So that will, yeah. So it makes that, and I get that all the time with guys, right? So it does change right away. Yet what you're talking about is more with, I'm thinking technical skills, because
Yeah.
as a goalie, where you put your focus, right? And you think of the whole magnifying glass. If you hold magnifying glass still, sunlight goes through it, you're going to start a fire. If you shake it and focus on other stuff, there's going to be no fire. As a goalie, where do you want that on? Probably the puck and maybe the play, right? That's it. But nothing else really contributes to our success, does it? Just the puck and the play.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if we're in practice and we're like, where's my glove hand? Where's my blocker hand? I'm doing this new RVH, or I'm doing this and stuff like that. The focus is not on the puck and the play. We're shaking that magnifying glass. Now, as long as we know that, because we have to work on technical stuff. As long as we know and understand that, and we understand the whole training ugly philosophy, right? To the harder it is, the better it is for us. And
Yeah.
then we'll be fine there.
Okay.
That was my shortest answer yet.
Yeah, that's okay. We're getting more efficient as we go. It's just
Yeah.
like goaltending.
Well, I might go off the page
Yeah, do it.
with my question, and I know because I want to talk about Stuart Skinner for a second.
Sure.
And if I recall correctly, he was one of your students
Yes.
at one point. And particularly in the Vancouver series, he ends up getting pulled. Calvin Picker goes in for a few games. Just where did Stewart contact you at all?
No, he should have, but he
where,
didn't. But
fair. Fair. But so then, I guess like, can you analyze or what can
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Yeah, just analyze in terms of like what do you think that he did and bounce back, and what would you have taught him, or what would you have gone over with him in order to bounce back in game
Okay.
6, 5, whatever it was?
Yeah. Let's talk about maybe Can we talk about the bigger picture of Stuart Skinner first?
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
that'll help. Then we'll lead into this. This will help deal with that. So I started working with Stuart Skinner when he was 17, I believe. I think when he was 7, worked for them for 4 years, and he was part of my original. What I do with my Zoom sessions now with the goaltenders, which is very popular. My Zoom masterminds. The first original mastermind I did was Stuart Skinner. It was Jeff Glass, and it was Dylan Ferguson. Those three guys. Every week we meet, we go over our week. I cover a mental topic and things like that. And I did multiple pregame visualizations for Stuart, and got him to so here's the difference. Let's talk about Jeff Glass for a moment, okay? Because Jeff Glass was, when he was younger, he won World Juniors for Team Canada with Sidney Crosby, right? World champion. Jeff Glass, world champion, wins World Juniors, CHL goalie of the year, the best in the Western, the O, and the Q.
Right.
You'd think he'd be in the NHL within a couple of years, right? And it was about 10 years, 12 years after that Eli Wilson put him in touch with me, and I started working with Jeff. And the first thing I did was got him to write. I said, "Where do you want to play? What team do you want to play on?" Like, it doesn't work like that. I go, "It doesn't matter. That's how your brain works, right?" So he wrote. He was playing for the Calgary Flames. In his paragraph of playing in the NHL, I got him to write a paragraph of him playing in the NHL. And of course, who do you think he was playing against in that paragraph? He's playing for
Probably
Calgary. Edmonton
Oh,
Oilers.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
gets first
Okay.
star in the game. They pull their goalie, all that stuff, right? So we do that paragraph, and we do a bunch of other stuff. And he's on the mastermind each week, and he's getting closer. He gets PTO with Toronto. He's with Rockford, and they don't call him up. They called the other goalie, and he calls me one morning. He's really irritated. We're talking, and I'm always like, every adversity is phenomenal for you. It's the best thing ever. And he's like, "What are you talking about? I freaking want to be called up here, right?" He's going to hang up on me. And I'm like, "Let's do a 30-day plan for you to be a Chicago Blackhawk, Jeff. Let's do it right now." He's like, "You're crazy." He goes, "What do you mean? Like 30-day plan? It doesn't work like that." I go, "That's how your brain works. That's how your brain." So we did this 30-day plan, become a Chicago Blackhawk. And he put a bunch of stuff on it, like ask the mastermind for a call up each week and believe it, do practice his mental skills daily, and a bunch of other good stuff on there, technical stuff as well too. And I think it was with 26, 27 days later, he played his first NHL game for Chicago against Edmonton, just like in his paragraph. And they did pull their goalie, just like he wrote in his paragraph. But he forgot to write that when they pulled their goalie, he didn't come up with a save. Right? He didn't write that in his paragraph, but that happened in the game. And they went in overtime. Patrick Ames gets the winner. And just like Jeff wrote in his paragraph, he got first star of the game. It was phenomenal. Yet that was 10 years after that should have happened. Jeff should have been in the NHL 10 years earlier. And I believe he would have 100% with a couple tweaks upstairs. Right? That was a big difference, because we operate kind of like a flea in a jar. Flea can jump 200 times his body height, put a lid on the jar, hits his head a couple times, take the lid off, never jump out of the jar the rest of his life. So what happens as soon as our beliefs get built down, then our performance goes right down. Stuart Skinner did not win World Juniors for Team Canada. didn't even make Team Canada, right? Did not win CHL Goalie of the Year. Didn't even win Western Hockey League Goalie of the Year. I think he might have won Goalie of the Month once, right? One of the biggest differences was a month after Stewart. I was at the draft with Stewart in Chicago. Then about a month after the draft, we sat down in Boston Pizza in where am I here? Spruce Grove. Yeah, we sat down at that Boston Pizza there, and I got Stewart to do a mind map of his goalie career. Once again, to create that clear picture. And he wrote down stuff like playing for the Edmonton Oilers, feeling the cup in my hands. Like, think about it, this is a freaking 18-year-old, 19-year-old, right? Feeling the cup in my hands, playing in the NHL All-Star game, stuff like that, things like that. And so what he wrote down there was that just gives that flea that clear vision, because with Stewart's career, the first year he was sent down to the coast, I think. Not just the American Hockey League, down to the coast.
Like that, yeah.
Jeff Glass never got sent down to the coast. Right? So he's down there. But when you have that clear picture, it makes it so much easier. It's like there was a study done on rats or mice, and it was kind of mean. They put them in water and then they were drowned. And then they tried it where they put them in water, and just before they would drown, they would lift them out, dry them off, put them back in the water. And instead of drowning in 10 minutes, 3 hours later, they would still be kicking and swimming because they thought they were going to be saved, right? And so when we have that clear picture, we keep doing stuff, right? So that's a big difference between Stuart Skinner. Now, he's still, how old is Stuart now?
About my age, 25.
25. He's still really young, right? To me, he's still really young. So, yeah, I know some people would say, he kind of stunk playing against Vancouver, those couple of games and things like that. But still, he's 25. He's young. He's growing. He's developing. And, kudos to the Oilers for leaving him in, because could have easily gone with the other guy, right?
Yeah.
With the other guy, and they left him in, and he actually won the Dallas series, or he won that game for them, right? He stole that game, right? Mm-hmm. So
okay,
yeah. Did that answer your question?
No,
yeah, it did.
Okay, another long answer.
Yeah. Well, and it was cool to see the stats too on, I think, what was it, games 4 to 7 in the series as opposed to 1 to 3. So, I think that's a bit of a skill, is getting better as you go as well too. And that's been the poster of his career so far, it seems.
I'm kind of choked out though, because me and my team went down to the NHL draft in Vegas, right? Because we had Carter was getting drafted, and so we all watched the game 7 together. We got there that day. And so I put $1,000 on Edmonton for Stewie, and man, he owes me $1,000. No, I'm joking.
There you go. We'll call him up after and we'll let him know. So I know we've touched on the visualization part of things, and I know you've kind of outlined the subconscious mind there too. But I'm kind of wondering, like, when we start talking about the implementation of this, like, what are some exercises that goalies can do to try, or that they should try to implement into their game, both like pre-game exercises as well as just daily exercises?
Got it. I believe exercises for confidence, right? For confidence exercises, and also exercises for bounce back, because that's a key skill. We got to be able to bounce back, right? And I know on the Goalie Mindset Academy that I have, there is a 7-day free trial. You can go on there and you can do the exercise, and you can cancel it, so it never charges you, but you can still remember what that exercise is, and you keep doing it, right? I prefer you stay and you pay, but you don't have to, right? You don't have to. It's no big deal.
Right.
So that's a good way to learn this exercise. So I think confidence and bounce back are right, the big two key things, and the visualization. So I would, if you guys want me to take you through a confidence exercise right now, I will if you want. It's up to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't we build up?
Let's do it. Okay, here we go.
Build my confidence, Pete. I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. So, and you guys are sitting, so we'll do it seated. So Nathan, what level? Let's scale 1 to 10. What level of confidence are you at right now?
I don't know, 7-ish,
okay.
I guess.
Connor?
Yeah.
Probably about the same.
About a 7. Okay. So now I want you to imagine you're looking at someone who's not very confident. I want you to sit the same way. Are their shoulders back or forward? Yeah.
Probably
look at that. Look how small you got there on the chair. They're forward.
Yeah.
Do you have a smile or a frown on your face? You have a frown, droopy facial muscles. Breathing deeply or breathing kind of Yeah,
Shallow.
shallowly. Looking down instead, head up or head down, looking down to the
Or
ground.
head down.
Notice how the confidence changes already. Being small, breathing shallowly, shoulders rolled forward, frown on your face. What images usually are in the head if someone's not very confident? Maybe they're replaying a save they didn't make. Or I'll say it, I don't like to say this, they'll replay a goal they let in, right? A game they should have won that they didn't win, that they didn't win. They'll keep replaying the game in their head, or they'll replay the coach saying something like they suck. So put those negative images in your head, rerun them, play them, staying small, shoulders forward. Nathan, what level of confidence are you at right now?
Probably like a 4 or so.
4, Connor?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 3, 4.
3, 4. Yeah, there you go. So you basically, okay, you can sit normally now. Sorry.
Okay.
I was just going to let you stay there for,
just sitting
for the
here, just
rest
we're
of the
just all
podcast.
sad now. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Said
send
build
you
me
my
up, Pete.
Cairo
Don't make me
bill.
so bad about this.
There you go. So you basically, your confidence went down in half. You cut your confidence in half by doing that. Now, who created that?
We did.
You did
Yeah.
through how you moved in the images in your head, right? And see, I always ask goalies, what is confidence? Well, it's total certainty. Where does it come from? Some guys will say, well, it comes from success. Yes, it's easy to feel confident when you have success, but think of it. Could two goalies have the exact same amount of success and one is more confident than the other? Right?
Yeah.
Two goalie could not make a save that's exactly the same and one is still more confident than the other. So it really comes from how we move in the images in your head that fuels everything for our confidence and the words we say too, because that creates images in our head. Now, imagine you're looking at someone who's totally confident and sit the same way. Shoulders back or forward. Shoulders going to be back. Head down or up. This is way more fun sitting like you got a superhero cape on you're in your superhero chair, raising your facial muscles, looking up, and the kicker is breathing deeply through your nose. And that those images in your head. You're a wall. You're a brick wall. You're a brick wall that stops everything coming your way. Carey Price has nothing on you. Vasilevsky has nothing on you. You make all the saves you're supposed to. You make the other ones that other goalies only dream of making. What level of confidence now?
It's got to at least be a 12.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Just so imagine doing that every day for 1 or 2 minutes. That's all you need to do it for. That's it. It makes all the difference, right? So those exercises are on the Goalie Mindset Academy. That's my voice walking them through in and out of confidence and stuff like that. But they can do it themselves if they want to just look in the mirror and do it themselves.
Yeah, I know that I'm big on that with the goalies that I coach. I tell them to record themselves, with the positive self-talk and play it back in their pregame kind of music time or whatever and stuff like that. It's definitely a game changer.
Totally. And the other thing is the whole pregame visualization. Like it's huge. And like I have some goalies. Like I work with 2 goalies in Montreal Canadiens organization, Caden Primo and Jacob Dobish. And it's funny because Jacob, he seems to think that he needs a live pregame visualization every game he plays. I'll be in the freaking grocery store, standing in front of the milk section, and I get a call. Let's do our pregame visualization now. I'm like, okay. So, people are looking at me like, what the heck? Anyway, he doesn't have that accent. He's been in Canada. He's been in North America for a long time. I was just adding some excitement there. Anyways, I kind of made him sound like the KGB. Okay, so yeah, so visualization is huge. It's huge. And a lot of goalies will say, well, I do my own pregame visualization. If you do a guided one, you're burning less concentration calories. Right? And so that's a big thing. So my clients, I will do them a customized pregame visualization. I'll record it just for them so they can listen to it every game. And it's like, think of it. If you make 4 or 5 saves, you're feeling totally confident. You'll feel like that when you listen to the visualization. So it's like you're starting the game already made that first save.
Yeah. Okay. Just going through my notes here. I guess just kind of building into that. I mean, you've obviously worked with a vast amount of goalies over the years. NHL clients, guys and juniors, guys coming up through development programs and all that. So do you find it the same when working with somebody like Caden Primo, or do you find it different versus working with Caden Primo versus somebody up and coming and playing in and let's just go double A, or just somebody playing in a minor hockey system looking to make that transition. So just like, is it like, are you like, is it the same, for lack of a better term, class that you're teaching the high level guys, or like do you have to kind of adjust it at the different levels?
To me, it's the same stuff, but I adjust it. I adjust it based on where they're at, right? But it's the same stuff, but I adjust it where they're at. It may just be adjusting the tonality of my voice. Right? If there's, say, a
Okay.
12-year-old compared to a 12-year-old, I may have more of a goofy voice. With Caden, I'm going to have probably more of a Rocky type voice, or Mick as trainer, or something like that, right? Something like that. And Mick was Rocky's trainer, just in case you didn't get that.
Put two and two together.
There we go. So yeah, but it's a lot of it is relatively, the foundations are the same. I may just tweak it and do it a little bit different, right? Sometimes the NHL guys may get a little bit more time as far as what we're working on for their career visualization and key stuff like that.
No. So if you're then talking to yourself back when you played,
Yes.
what do you think? What do you think you wish you would have been able to tell yourself that you think would have kind of helped? Because you mentioned the bad attitude that you had at times,
Yeah.
and kind of that ego. And so, what do you think? Like you wish you would have had the piece of advice back when you were playing, knowing what you know now?
I would have said, map out your goalie career first and foremost. Map it out. Where do you want to play? You guys ever heard of Paul Kariya? There's another name. Have you heard of Paul
Never
Kariya?
heard of him. Not once in a life.
You have. Come on.
I've heard of Scott Stevens, though.
Okay. Yeah. You like Scott Stevens. So Paul Kariya did what's called the rocking chair scenario. He pictured himself 90 years old in his rocking chair, looking back what he wanted to do with his life. And that's why he went to college, not the Western Hockey League, because the team I was playing on was trying to highly recruit him to play there. And so, number one, I would say, think big and create your goalie career first. Like, create that first. And a lot of times, a lot of performance coaches, and I don't know what I would be called, because I'm not a sports psychologist. I don't even call myself a performance coach. I guess you could call me a performance coach, but I just get phenomenal results with the goaltenders. And you got to think big. And you got to think big of yourself too, right? Or to do that. So basically, I would say have that clear picture of your goalie career. That's what I would tell my younger self. Map it out, right? What NHL team do I want to play on, right? How long do I want to play there for? Who are some players I want to play with? Who do I want to play against? Like, create that clear picture so that when it happens, it's not a surprise, right? And then what about, am I going just to be the number one goalie on my team in the Western Hockey League, or am I going to be CHL goalie of the year, right? So things like that, number one. So I would create that. And then the second thing is I would give myself a strategy for confidence, right? What is my, and say you're bigger than any situation. You're bigger than any. So that'd be a key thing, having a strategy for confidence, strategy for bounce back, and understand that take nothing personal. Whatever a coach says to us, never take it personal. It's usually not about us. It's usually about them, right? They could be in a bad mood or something like that, and they're just saying stuff, right? And also realize that
Words to live by in life.
Yeah. A lot of coaches are learning too. A lot of coaches say stuff that they will never say again because they're learning as they go. They're not bad people, or they're good people, but they'll say the wrong things. Right? Say the wrong things. And
as I work as a bylaw officer with the city of Edmonton.
What do you do? What do you do as a bylaw officer?
I'm going to be real. I'm going to get grilled here, Pete.
You don't give the parking tickets, do you? I'm joking.
Yeah.
But the best piece of advice that shut up, Nathan. the best piece of advice that I've
got to monetize this podcast so that you can leave the.
I'm working on getting him to be a full-time goalie coach, so he doesn't have to get his house egged every week.
Okay, no. I honestly have really good conversations with civilians. I rarely ever have any interactions, and I think it's just like I know how to talk to people in general. But the point that I'm trying to make, the best piece of advice I'd ever gotten is just people aren't necessarily upset with you as a person. They're upset with either the job that you do, or they're upset at the badge that you wear. So don't not to take anything personally, and that's why I rarely get in any bad interactions, or if I do, it's just kind of bounces off or whatever. So I like that. That's the same idea with that.
I think that's true unless you are a bylaw officer. I'm just joking.
Confidence is at a 2 here, Pete. Just so you...
Well, do the exercise.
There you go.
Get it up there.
Yeah.
Dear.
Coaches will say positive and negative stuff, but yeah, we got to water off a duck's back.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I guess switching gears on it here, and I don't know if you've ever really been asked this question. Obviously, in sport, parents and coaches obviously play a massive role.
Yeah.
So, do you have any mindset tips?
Well, I remember when I played, I was in Victoria in the Western Hockey League, and my dad, he'd watch me play, and his heart would beat so fast, they'd have to take him out of the arena and give him oxygen or something like that, right? Probably said a lot about how I played, but a lot of parents watch the game the same way, right? They get nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I tell parents, and this is just like with a goaltender. So the magical formula for goaltenders is to really be in the athlete mindset instead of the fan mindset. So let's just talk about from a goaltender perspective first, and we'll move into the parents. So basically, when I played, our team would have the puck on our end. I'd be like, get it out, get it out, get it out, get it out. The challenge with that is that the images in my head are of that puck getting out of the zone. So if it's turned over, I'd be behind the play. As opposed to when my team has a puck, craving the turnover, craving the turn. That came from Chris. I did a lot of work with Kristen Campbell. She's a Canadian Olympic goaltender and played in the PWHL. So when she wanted me to do a pregame vid for her, she wrote out, "Can you please add in, I crave for my D to turn the puck over," right? So that's where that came from. And so that's number one. Number two is when our team takes penalties, I would get so mad. Right? Mad at the ref. Is the ref's fault. What do you do? Or threaten refs and stuff like that. You can't do that stuff nowadays, but it was different back then. So basically, that way my focus would be on the wrong stuff. Whereas when your team takes a penalty, you love it. Like, you absolutely love it. Carson Bjarnason, one of my clients, he was one of the top-ranked goalies 2 years ago in the NHL draft, plays for Brandon Wheat Kings. This year, he's playing a game. He called me after. He says, it's so funny. I think his team took 2 penalties in a row. He goes to the ref. He's like, "That's awesome. Thanks." And the ref looks at him. He's like, "Barney, are you messing with me?" He did a different word than messing, right? And Barney's like, no. I want the penalties. Like, there's a chance to step up, right? So that's number two. Number three is when the play's on the far end, we're in the athlete mindset. We don't care what happens. We're ready for it to come down to our end. So if we look at that from that perspective there, and if the parents use the same perspective, if the parents use this perspective of not really caring what the team does down the far end, right? Who cares? And then wanting the other team to come up ice, because your goaltender's either going to be the star or he or she is going to get better, right? And the only way they can do that is through that friction, so to speak, of whether it's the play coming up ice, whether they're killing off a penalty, a breakaway, a penalty shot, all that stuff. So I think the parents want to start to crave for those situations and just smile and enjoy them no matter what happens. Once they start doing that, it gets easier. I've literally seen goalie moms praying behind nets in a game. Just like it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's good. So I guess since we're taking up lots of your time here, and I know we could probably go on for hours, and we'll probably have to do a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4 down the road. But so we'll start to wrap things up for today. But I just want to kind of get like a number one tip from you, or maybe even 2 or something, just to kind of blanket everything in one statement for the goalies out there. What would it be?
It would be, you walk into the picture you hold of yourself, and every word that is said forms a picture in your head, right? So make sure you're only saying positive stuff. After a game, you replay all the saves that you made first, right? You replay. Then you could go through the ones that you didn't make, but replay them as you made them, right? And can I kind of finish off with a little story for you that has to do with exactly wrapping it up?
Go ahead.
So one of the key things with Stuart Skinner was the whole 23% rule. So after a game, it's like, go through what you did well. What did you do well? So Stuart started focusing on the things that he did well after a game. It makes a big difference. So his coach asked him when he was in Lethbridge, he's like, "How do you think you did today?" He's like, "Well, I great. I made this save and this save. This." Coach like, "No, you didn't. You were like blah 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 blah." And he just goes off on him. Right? Stewart calls me after. He's like freaking out. I'm like, okay, well, let's try a different strategy with your coach. You know you're going to go through that. You know you're going to go through what you did well, and you know it works. So when the coach asks you next time, no matter how well you play or how well you don't play, when he asks you how'd you do, say, I think I could have been better. I could have done this or I could have done this and stuff like that. So that's what he said the next time. And the coach is like, no, you were phenomenal. Right. So the coach kind of was a mismatcher, so to speak, with what he would say there. So he just learned to do that. So goalies can stop 41 to 42 and replay that one save they didn't make in their head over and over and over and over again. Fill your head with saves,
Yeah.
right? Fill the problem when goalies aren't playing well, their head is filled with non-saves. Fill it with saves. Fill it with saves. You walk in the picture you're holding yourself. Every word that's said form the picture in your head. Fill your head with saves. Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, we were talking about that in last podcast where a lot of times at post game, you're so focused on could have made that backdoor save, could have done this, could have done that, versus like, oh, did you see like the one good blocker save that you made, right? So that's
Yes.
Well, I guess I get to wrap things up today. This is exciting. So Pete, thank you very much for taking the time to come speak with us. Really do appreciate it. But before we let you go, I suppose just where can people find you, and how can they get a hold of you?
Got it. First of all, my books are available on Amazon. Goalie Mindset Secrets was really, really popular. That's a performance book for goaltenders. Goalie Mindset Power on Amazon is more about the career. But for parents, Magnetic Mindset Secrets is a great one. It's also a business one. It covers a lot of good scenarios on there. I think it's got the Skinner mind map in it in one of those books there. So those books would be good. PeteFry.net, just PETEFRY.net. That's the website. You can go on there. And the best thing for the parents is the Zoom masterminds. Remember, the original Zoom was Stuart Skinner, Dylan Ferguson, and Jeff Glass, right? And that's where we base it off now. So that's we're filling up for this year with that. And I even train some of my coaches now to run some of those sessions too, which is great. Mm-hmm. So they get to work with pro goals too.
We'll throw all of that up in the show notes, and we'll link up to the podcast, because I think some of your masterminds you just threw up for the podcast too. There is a handful of episodes a couple of years ago there. So that'll be a good way to get an intro to Pete, and then you can kind of start down the rabbit hole.
There we go.
So
awesome.
But yeah, no, we both really appreciate you taking the time, Pete, and it was great. And like I said, we could probably do this another 17 times.
Yeah, it was fun.
And still get get enough content.
We didn't even talk about you guys. We didn't even talk about your careers and stuff like that. Could do that next time. Ask some questions.
Yeah, we'll come on your podcast. You can do some.
Yeah, so I'll get you guys on. I'll have you guys on it for sure. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll absolutely love that.
Let's do it. Awesome.
All right. Well, we'll let you go for today, and then we'll touch base in the future.
Nathan, Connor,
thanks again.
Great job.
Thanks again, Pete.
Yep, you got it. Make it a great one. Doing my fist up in the air. That was the. Okay. See you later.
There you go. Okay. All right. That was awesome interview with Pete there. I know he could probably go on for days. We could probably go on for days too, and get a lot out of him. But we'll wrap things up. So we'll put some stuff in the show notes. We'll put links to Pete's books and to Pete's website and his socials and stuff like that. But that'll be at the DIYgoalie.com/pod015, pod015. And you can get all of that. So why don't you start us off, Connor, kind of with, a bit of a takeaway or two that you got from the talk that we had with Pete, and kind of start to unpack that episode, because there is a lot in there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to unpack in there. I think it's quite interesting, this whole philosophy about the power of the mind and how we can harness that and make something of it. I think that was really, really, really interesting. Like having Pete have us do that confidence exercise was quite interesting. Make yourself feel small, shoulders over, head down, pouting. Like I felt something inside for a minute there, thinking like, damn, like I suck, like this is brutal, like what's the point? And then and then as he's building us up, and it's like, oh, like fully confident, like, hey, I'm having a good time. It's all that stuff. So just it's interesting, the whole philosophy that he has behind it and how it translates into goaltending, particularly just not only just the off ice stuff and the on ice stuff, and then even just doing something as simple as that confidence exercise. I can only imagine what other types of exercises and what he has in his program there to help goalies with that. So that was, as my cat destroys everything in my apartment. That was the biggest takeaway for me. Honestly, I found that really 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 interesting, and I definitely want to learn more about that.
Yeah, the thing that, and I've mentioned this before, but the thing that I wish I knew more about and also took more seriously, because there was a little bit when I played, like, that stuff that was offered, but this off ice component and the mind itself, like the cognitive training and the mental side of things, the mindset stuff, to me that's what sets, the top end athletes apart, is putting in the work for that sort of stuff. And sometimes guys don't really do it purposely, it just kind of comes naturally. But um I think the biggest thing that I had from this interview is just being able to shift that mindset to have a better outlook on the stuff you can't control, because there's so many things that are out of your control that, even Pete had mentioned early in his career how, that attitude towards it can kind of make or break you. And just a bit of a story, like my first year of junior A, um you know, I was a 17-year-old, so didn't have too much experience. Kind of had an up and down year, and that was the year that I was working with Dustin Schwartz, and he implemented a lot of technical stuff into my game, a lot of structure, which at that point I was based mostly on athleticism. And so I went through that transition period where it was tough, going through such a big change in my game. And so I was really up and down, and there was a stretch where they brought in a third goalie and I backed up but didn't get a start, and they alternated starts with the other guys. So I just sat on the bench for, I don't know, probably, 10 games or so. But I got into 3 off of the bench and won 2 of them. And I think I let in 1 goal on 50 some shots over those 3 relief performances. And so I went to the coach's room and I asked, I'm like, hey, like, I've been playing well lately. I feel like I've earned a start. Like, why haven't I gotten one, kind of thing? And he turned around and he pulled up my stats on the computer and highlighted it. And so, because I didn't have a very good save percentage just from the year in general. And he was like, this is why. And that had nothing to do with my recent performance. It was just the season in general. And that was super deflating. So I finally got a start for the very last game of the season. And then he tells us, going on to the bus, me and the other guy that was dressed, oh, we're actually going to split you guys, you're going to play half and half. And I didn't even make it to the half. I got pulled because I just was not in a good state of mind. But the next year, so I got traded to Selkirk out in Manitoba, and I tore my meniscus in the summer, so I didn't play until November. And I think it was my third game back, because I was backing up a 20-year-old, and we were playing the worst team in the league. Like, I think we outshot them like 52-18, and we lost 4-2. And I did not feel good about my game. And the coach called me into his office after, and he's like, hey, just so you know, shake it off, turn the page. We have the utmost confidence in you. And after that, I think I finished only playing like 18 or 19 games, but I had 6 shutouts. And I think somebody told me once that that's also the goals against average record for the MJHL, or at least one was at the time. So, you know, the long-winded, point of that story, I guess, is that, you know, I let that first coach get into my head, and I can't control what he says or what he thinks or anything like that, but I also didn't really have the tools to manage that. Whereas Pete was talking about this confidence thing, and you know, the coach in Selkirk there basically gave me the pat on the back. Hey, we believe in you. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I can believe in myself. Somebody else does, right?
Yeah,
So, and then you
suppose
just
suppose
go
I'm
out and
allowed to do that.
play. Yeah, you don't worry about it. So, if you guys can figure out a way to deal with those situations internally and have that skill set to be able to tune out the outside noise, it goes a long way. I think it'll make a big difference in your overall game.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely agree with that. And then you and I could probably go on a whole another hour talking about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
definitely think that we will leave it there. Can I do the outro today? Am I allowed to do the outro? Am I permitted to do that?
I guess so. We'll see how you do it, and then if it's not good, then I'll just edit
This
it
is
out
this
and
is going to make or break the hosting chair for me in the future. If I butcher
yeah,
this, I am not going to be allowed to
yeah.
do this again.
So
So,
before you do,
sure.
you guys send us some feedback. If we need to kick Connor out of the host chair, we can. And on the other side of things, if you like it better with Connor being here and you want to kick me out of the host chair, that works too. So let us know. And again,
We'll
we appreciate you guys listening
we'll
and the
host a poll.
feedback.
We'll host a
Yeah,
poll.
there you go.
Uh yeah,
All right,
so
send us
yeah.
off.
Well, first off, obviously, if you guys have any listener questions or anything, you can submit that to the DIY goalie, but you do it via audio or you can send it in a text. I know Nathan's been looking forward to doing this question and answer thing, which would be very, very interesting. I definitely just want to take a backseat on that one and just watch Nathan do that. Also, as well, you can find us all on your favorite podcasting platforms: Apple, Spotify, uh, Amazon. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at the DIY. You can also follow our sister account at True North Goaltending, particularly on Instagram at YEG Goalie Coach. You can follow myself at Monday GC. And just thank you guys so much for the support. We really do appreciate it. And we definitely look forward to seeing you goalies on the ice in the summertime.
Yeah, see you guys next week.